We're excited to have you here on our very new podcast, which will be talking about specification and door hardware within the construction industry. My name is Dikesh Pattni from ASSA ABLOY Solutions.
And I am Marc, Ameryckx, also from ASSA ABLOY Opening Solutions.
Welcome to the world of ASSA ABLOY. Every day, we create access for billions of people around the world. As the global leader in access solutions, we offer opening solutions, trusted identities, entrance automation and service for companies, institutions, and homes.
Today's episode will be focusing on specification and what specification really means in the construction industry. Specification can be very misunderstood by architects, designers, and contractors. We're here as the specification experts to give you, the listeners, a great informative message of what specification really is. So when it comes to specifications, in some people's eyes, it can be viewed as a grey area. They don't really know what a specification really means. Marc, what is a specification when we're talking about specifications in construction?
Well, Dikesh, it's like a recipe of the building. So if you miss one of the ingredients, it can be a mess. It's like baking a cake and you forget to put in the eggs. The result will not be that tasty as expected.
Yeah, it's like getting the right ingredients to get the actual result that you really want. It's like if you're looking at a car, what kind of car are you looking to purchase? And when you're thinking about buying a car, you're thinking about looking at, okay, how many seats does it need? Is it a petrol? Is it a diesel? What are you going to be using it for? In construction, it's the same thing. You look at buildings and you look at the purpose of a building, especially if it's going to be having a lot of people in the building, a lot of volume, a lot of traffic. So specification really does form a big part of that, doesn't it?
It's very important indeed. So and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have this session and talk about specification, because it's so important, and doors are complex.
Yeah, and I think it starts from where architects have designed a building. And architects are great. They're very good experts at what they do. But when you're looking at certain materials that go into a building or certain components, it's where you really need the experts to guide you to how to get to your end goal. And within our industry, with doors and hardware, that can be a tricky thing.
Indeed.
So in terms of explaining a specification, specifications usually stem from an architect's initial design.
Yeah, indeed. But then again, it's very important to know the difference between the reality and wishful thinking. So, as you said, big ideas on design level, but it's not always feasible in reality.
Exactly. So, the design could change dramatically. It could change whilst the building is actually progressing during construction phase as well. And this is why it's really important to really understand how we work with our customers, work with our architects to get the right specification.
So because we are experts, we know what's possible, what is feasible, and that's again why it's important to get in touch with a specifier, especially with doors, because again, doors can be very complex.
Exactly. So when we're looking at specifications, in today's market, we have really a couple of different types of specifications that are being focused on: prescriptive and performance-based.
Performance, yeah.
So let's give our viewers an idea of what both of these mean.
Yeah.
So when it comes to prescriptive specifications, what we're really talking about here is specifications that tell you exactly how certain components are put together. It's like what you're talking about with your recipe. You would want to put your cake or make your cake in a certain way. It's the same with a specification. You want to design your building in a certain way, certain locks and certain components are put together. That's what we would really describe as a prescriptive specification.
So all the ingredients will be listed up. All the ingredients you expect to be part of the cake and hopefully to come to a good result, of course.
Yeah. You want the cake to be a good result, but exactly that. I mean, but also that it follows a certain set of rules as well. So I would say that when you're looking at your cake, you're looking at, okay, what time you're going to add these certain ingredients in, and
Indeed,
also
indeed.
works the same in specification. So that's more of a prescriptive specification. But if we're looking at performance-based specification, we are looking at hitting certain metrics. And when we're talking about metrics, we're talking about things like fire, which is so important. Acoustics can play an important role in construction specifications, and also things like insulation and U values.
Yeah, indeed. And if I may come back to the cake needs to be tasty. And
Whether we get it tasty or not, we don't.
yeah, but that's the performance we expect from the cake to be tasty, of course.
Exactly that. Now, when we're looking at things such as performance-based specifications, I think this is where we have to bridge the gap with the architects, because architects and designers would like to hit a certain performance, and this is where we can run into certain complications, but we can support them. And what I mean by that is, let's say you have a door schedule and you want to really meet a certain fire performance or a certain grading of a door. At certain times we would get from architects steel door, just says steel door, and that's the information we would go by, a steel door.
Yeah.
But then steel doors come in many different factors.
Yeah, so the sharing of data, information about the doors, the project in general, is very important.
Important to get as much information when it comes to a performance-based specification, because what tends to happen is, okay, we've understood what the requirements were from a door schedule, and then when we're actually presenting a solution, it might be rejected because of an aesthetic reason. So that's why it's important when we're looking at specifications to guide the right teams in the right ways.
Yeah, and that again, that's what we do on a daily basis with our teams. So delivering a specification services and guiding and helping architects. Then again, sharing data, information, it's very important.
Yeah, it's very important. And I think one of the things that tends to happen in this industry is that not everything is resolved in the first meeting. Yeah, a specification will take revision 1, it could be in revision 2, revision 3 when you've actually completed what you're actually looking for.
Indeed. And that's why you need to be involved as soon as possible in the process, because if you are only involved the day before the tender or some kind of deadline, it's a rush to get everything, and then you are missing all kind of details.
Yep.
So yeah, it's very important.
I agree, and that takes us to the part where we're looking at specification timelines. So when the building is getting designed and you're looking at design phase of different floors, different levels, even different phases of the building, that's when it's the most critical part to get this solution right. What you don't want to get is in a situation where, okay, the design phase has completed, you've got something basic, but the building owner's not happy with what's been specified, and then you're in a rush to get what you...
Yeah, you need to remake the specs again, and that's affecting the budget, or at least somebody's going to spend time on it, and that person needs to be paid at the end. So
time is cost.
Yeah, time is money. So it's very important to have a good communication from the start, being involved as soon as possible into the project, so that you avoid rushing it through and avoid mistakes.
So typically, what would you find when you're starting out and you're meeting with your designers and architects? I mean, what kind of information are you getting from them at the start?
Well, it depends. Some architects, they understand that they need to take some time with you. They need time to share as much as possible information with you, details, so that you can also come back with good quality of specs. But sometimes it also happens that the architect doesn't understand that it's important, and and he is not willing to spend too much time on it together with you, and he's not really sharing all the necessary details, and then again resulting in bad specs, resulting in rework, doing it again and again. Yeah.
And you touch on a very great point there with bad specs. I've seen instances where you reuse the spec from the last job.
Yeah.
And how often does that situation come about?
Yeah. So at the time when I was a specifier, I was sometimes in touch with an architect, and he just told me, "Yeah, but I don't need your services. I don't need your help because I took the specs you already delivered the last time for a similar building." But that's not a good idea because every building is different. Okay, you can have similar types, verticals, etc. But there is always a risk, especially for complex buildings such as hospitals. There is a big risk if you just copy it from another hospital that you are going to be in trouble at the end.
I agree. I mean, if you look at taking a spec from a previous job, and there's certain things that you could really miss off, or it could actually increase the cost of the building. If we're talking about things such as a previous project where you specified a door with a certain amount of hinges, and then you have you're trying to replicate that onto another project, you may not need as many hinges, or you might need more. You can't just replicate the
Or
same.
maybe a high-level solution on a specific door, but in the underground maybe you don't need that level of design maybe, and so you are paying too much for that solution for a door in the basement, for example, just because you just reused specs from that previous building.
Someone might be happy with a very fancy door.
Yeah, of course, the one who's going to sell the hardware, the door closers, maybe he will be very happy. But at the end, the owner is going to pay too much for that solution in the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's the owners that we need to really, who are looking for these solutions, that we need to really support and give good guidance as well. And that's the role of the specifier. Really, is not just working with the architect, but it's working with everyone, every stakeholder in that industry, that project, should I say? And that's guiding them to the right solution. A specifier can really identify the needs. And when we're talking about previous projects, we talk about projects such as data centers or hospitals where specifiers may have had previous experience. And that knowledge is so useful to guide them in the right direction.
Yeah, indeed,
and
indeed.
We see that evolving even more, and we're always learning. Yeah, with new products coming out onto the market. But another bit I want to touch on is new legislation. And legislation on things like fire.
Very important, very important.
Very, very important topic. Fire. I mean, you look at fire, you look at security ratings, you look at
panic exit devices, escape routes. Very important too. If you miss something, if there is a missing ingredient, I'm not going to talk about cakes again, of course, but if you are missing something on that topic, there can be a big problem. Yeah.
And I think also having the right specification early on in the process will save some of these bottlenecks.
Yeah.
It could save time, and it could save a lot of headaches for contractors later down the line.
Yeah. That's what the specifier does, preventing headaches.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've had experience where we were talking about performance-based specifications, and if we're looking at, I gave the example previously of just a steel door. Now, as a contractor, you're looking at that specification and thinking, okay, well, they've just looked at a steel door. Shall I just then go out and get the cheapest steel door, or do I need to have a certain performance on that steel door? Not a lot of the time, it's a cost saving exercise. So you would, without the right description of these performances,
Indeed, indeed. Yeah.
you could end up with the wrong product.
Yeah. So again, if you have if your specification is not really explaining well what is the expectation at the end, during the bidding process, the contractor is going to try to give you the cheapest solution that just fits or barely fits into those bad specs. So and then what happens is, and again, that is something one day I was invited by an architect on site of a construction site, and he explained me the problem that he had bad specs, and his customer, the owner, expected a multi-lock motor lock in his front door. But due to bad specs, and in fact, in the specs, it was just mentioned, I want an electric device in my front door to lock the door. So the customer or the owner, he expected at the end to see a multi-point motor lock, but the contractor, he just put an electric strike of 50 euros. That was it.
So
He respected the specs, but at the end, the owner wasn't happy at all.
Yeah,
So
it's like any buying decision that you have, right? You really want to give as much information as possible so you can get the most accurate solution for your needs.
Yeah.
And I gave that example about buying a car earlier. You know, if you don't give the right description of what you're using the car for, is it commercial, is it personal, you could end up with a car that can't do that kind of
the guy is going to sell you the most expensive car in the showroom, probably.
Exactly.
So, at least that's what he's going to try. So
that's exactly what could happen. So that's it for episode 1. We thank you very much, and we hope you've enjoyed the content that we've created. If you have any comments or questions, please drop them down below, and we look forward to seeing you on episode 2.